It all started on a perfectly ordinary London morning. You know the type. The sky was the color of a sad pigeon, a bit grey, a bit moody, threatening rain, but never quite committing. Classic. There we were, my partner and I, sitting in our kitchen, cradling mugs of tea like they held all the secrets to the universe. We were trying to act cool, calm, and collected, but underneath the surface, a storm was brewing. Today was the day. The big one. Our Italy visa appointment. We had a dream of sipping Aperol spritzes under the Tuscan sun, but first, we had to conquer a mountain of paperwork in a soulless office block in central London. The tension was palpable. You could cut it with a teaspoon. We checked the documents 100 times. Passport, check. Application form, check. Bank statements, check. A photo where you look vaguely human and not like you've just been told your favorite show is cancelled? Check-ish. Yet, the feeling of dread lingered. It's a funny thing, isn't it? You can plan everything down to the last paperclip, but your stomach still does a little flip-flop routine. We kept looking at the clock, then at each other, then back at the clock. Every tick seemed to get a little bit louder, a little more judgmental. You're going to be late, it seemed to say. We were just trying to enjoy our last few moments of peace before the inevitable chaos. The small talk was brilliant, absolutely top-notch. Got your passport? I'd ask for the 10th time. Yes, have you got yours? She'd reply, equally tense. We were like two actors in a very low-budget spy film, whispering secrets that weren't secret at all. The plan was simple. Leave the house with plenty of time, stroll to the station, and glide gracefully into London. But life, especially on a visa day, rarely follows the script. The quiet hum of the morning was slowly being replaced by the frantic buzz of our own anxiety. We were about to step out the door and into the great unknown, armed with nothing but a folder of papers and a rapidly fading sense of optimism. Our nerves were starting to get the better of us. I found myself tidying things that were already tidy, just to have something to do with my hands. My partner was double-checking train times on her phone, her thumb scrolling endlessly. We knew we had everything, but the what-if game is a dangerous one to play. What if we missed a signature? What if they didn't like my bank statement? What if they asked me a trick question about pasta? The possibilities for failure felt endless, while the vision of Italian sunshine felt a million miles away. It was time. We took one last gulp of tea, a deep breath, and stepped out into the grey London day. Game on. Right, so the plan to stroll to the station went out the window almost immediately. We left the house and suddenly, time decided to speed up. It's like the universe knew we had somewhere important to be and thought, let's have a laugh. We were walking, then power walking, and before we knew it, we were in a full-blown, unglamorous sprint. Picture this, two reasonably dressed adults clutching a very important folder, running down a suburban street like they're being chased. We probably looked ridiculous. I'm pretty sure my hair was doing its own thing, and I could feel a light sweat starting to form. Not the vibe you want for a visa photo, let me tell you. We burst into the station panting, only to be met with a queue at the ticket machine. Of course, why wouldn't there be a queue? This is where the first real test of our relationship began. I wanted to buy the first available ticket, any ticket, just to get on a train. My partner, ever the savvy one, pointed out that if we waited just 3 more minutes, we could get an off-peak ticket and save ourselves a tenner. So there we were, watching our train sitting at the platform, doors open, while we engaged in a frantic whispered debate about peak travel times. It was a high-stakes game of financial chicken. In the end, she won. We waited. We saved the tenner, and then we had to sprint again, this time across the platform, weaving through commuters who looked at us with a mixture of pity and annoyance. We jumped onto the train just as the doors started to beep their final warning. We made it. We collapsed into our seats, a sweaty, breathless mess, but we were on our way. We looked at each other, and the tension just melted away into laughter. It was that kind of laugh that only comes after a moment of pure, unadulterated panic. We were a disaster, but we were a disaster together. Then came the next brilliant moment. The ticket inspector came around. "Tickets, please," he said with a cheerful authority I just did not have the energy for. I reached into my pocket. Nothing. I checked my other pocket. Still nothing. A cold wave of panic washed over me. I'd lost the ticket we'd waited for, sprinted for, and nearly missed the train for. It was gone. I looked at my partner, my eyes wide with terror. This day was just getting better and better. Our Grand London adventure had barely started, and we were already hitting every possible bump in the road. The ticket panic was real. I was patting myself down like I was on fire, convinced our Italian dream was about to be derailed by a tiny piece of cardboard. But my partner, my hero, stayed calm. She just pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and produced the email confirmation with the QR code. The ticket inspector scanned it, gave us a nod, and moved on. Catastrophe averted. We spent the rest of the train journey laughing about it, feeling like we had just defused a bomb. We arrived in London feeling a bit more confident, like we'd passed the first level of a very stressful video game. We were ready for the final boss, the visa application center. We found the building, a sleek corporate-looking place that screamed "no fun allowed." And then we saw it. The queue. It snaked out of the door and down the street. It was a beautiful, diverse tapestry of human anxiety. Everyone had the same look on their face, a mixture of hope and despair, clutching their folders like they were religious artifacts. We joined the back of the line, settling in for the long haul. The wait was an experience in itself. We made small talk with the people next to us, bonding over our shared bureaucratic nightmare. Everyone had a story, a dream destination, and a pile of papers they prayed was correct. After what felt like an eternity, we finally made it inside. It was even more chaotic than the queue outside. People were everywhere, scurrying from counter to counter. The air was thick with the smell of paper and quiet desperation. We got our token number and found a seat, ready for another wait. We watched the numbers tick by on the screen, each one representing another person's fate. When our number was finally called, we walked up to the counter, smiled our most charming smiles, and handed over our pristine folder. The agent started flipping through the pages, his expression unreadable. My heart was pounding in my chest. Then came the words every applicant dreads. "It seems you're missing a document." Our hearts sank. It couldn't be. We had checked everything. He explained we needed a more recent HR letter from my partner's employer, one that was dated within the last month. Our letter was 6 weeks old. 6 weeks. For a moment we just stared at him, speechless. All that running, all that stress, only to be tripped up by a technicality. The agent told us we had 1 hour to get the document and submit it, or we'd have to book a new appointment. The clock was ticking. Again. Panic mode activated. We were ushered away from the counter and into a designated problem area, which was basically a corner of the room with terrible Wi-Fi. The mission was clear. Get a new HR letter, signed and scanned within 60 minutes. My partner immediately got on the phone with her office, trying to explain the situation with a calm she definitely did not feel. I was on my phone, trying to tether my laptop to its mobile hotspot, but the signal was weaker than my will to live at that moment. The little loading circle on the screen just kept spinning and spinning, mocking our desperation. It was a frantic, ridiculous scene. My partner was pacing back and forth, talking to her HR department, who thankfully were incredibly helpful. They promised to sort it out right away. Meanwhile, I was trying to keep our phones from dying. My battery was at 15%, hers at 10%. We were living on the edge. I felt like we were in a movie, trying to hack into the mainframe before the whole system shut down. Other people in the problem corner were in similar states of distress, frantically typing on laptops and making hushed, urgent phone calls. There was a weird sense of camaraderie in our shared misery. Then, a glimmer of hope. Ping! An email arrived. It was the letter. We were ecstatic. But our joy was short-lived. Now we had to print it. The Visa Center had a printing service, of course, for a ridiculously inflated price per page. We didn't care. We would have paid anything. We fumbled to forward the email to the printing service's address, our fingers shaking slightly. The slow internet felt like a personal insult at this point. But finally, the email sent. We rushed over to the printing desk, paid the fee, and got our hands on the warm, freshly printed letter. It was the most beautiful piece of A4 paper I had ever seen. With only minutes to spare, we hurried back to the counter, waving the letter triumphantly. The agent took it, gave it a quick glance, stamped a few things, and then said the magic words. "Okay, everything is in order now. Your application has been accepted for processing." The relief was overwhelming. It washed over us in a giant wave. We had done it. We had battled the queues, the missing documents, the bad Wi-Fi, and the dying phones. We walked out of that office not knowing if our visa would be approved, but feeling like we had just won a war. We were exhausted, frazzled, but we were victorious. Stepping out of the Visa Center and back into the London air felt like being released from prison. The grey sky didn't seem so gloomy anymore. It just seemed peaceful. All the nervous energy that had been coursing through our veins was gone, replaced by a profound bone-deep exhaustion and hunger. We were absolutely ravenous. All that stress had burned through our breakfast, and our stomachs were staging a very loud protest. We needed food, and we needed it now. We weren't in the mood for anything fancy. We just wanted something simple, comforting, and preferably greasy. Our eyes landed on a nearby fast food place, and it was like seeing an oasis in the desert. We ordered a massive portion of chips, or fries, for my friends across the pond to share. We found a bench in a nearby square and just sat there, not saying much, simply enjoying the act of eating. Those were, without a doubt, the best chips I have ever tasted in my entire life. Each one was a little golden stick of victory. As we were eating, we were joined by an uninvited guest. A classic London pigeon, bold as brass, waddled right up to us. He wasn't shy at all. He just stood there staring at our chips with an intensity that was both hilarious and a little bit intimidating. My partner, who has a soft spot for all creatures, laughed and tossed him a chip. The pigeon gobbled it up in a flash and then stared at us for more, as if to say, "Right, don't be stingy." So we started feeding him. It turned into a little game. We'd toss a chip and he'd catch it mid-waddle. It was a silly, wonderful moment of calm in the middle of a truly manic day. All the stress of the morning, the running, the queues, the missing letter, just faded away. It was just us, a bench, a box of chips, and our new feathered friend, who we decided to name Percy. There, sitting on that bench, sharing our victory meal with Percy the pigeon, we finally had a chance to breathe. We started to laugh about the whole ridiculous day. We replayed the mad dash for the train, the panic over the lost ticket, and the frantic scramble for the HR letter. It was all so stressful at the time, but now it was just a funny story. It was a reminder that sometimes the most chaotic days are the ones that end up being the most memorable. We finished our chips, said goodbye to Percy, and started to think about the journey home, feeling 1,000,000 times lighter than we had just a few hours before. Feeling recharged by our chip-fueled therapy session, we began the trek back to the train station. We were tired, but it was a good kind of tired. The kind of tired that comes after you've accomplished something. We walked slowly, taking in the sights and sounds of London, no longer in a frantic rush. We were just two people who had survived an ordeal and were now enjoying the sweet, sweet feeling of it being over. We chatted about Italy, about all the places we wanted to see, the food we wanted to eat. The dream felt a little bit closer now, a little more real. All our hard work had to count for something, right? Of course, the day wasn't done with us just yet. We were so busy basking in our post-visa appointment glow that we, once again, lost track of time. We arrived at the station to see our train was due to depart in 2 minutes. You have got to be kidding me. We looked at each other, and without a word, we were off again. Another sprint. This one felt even more ridiculous than the first. My legs felt like jelly, and as I was running, I managed to trip over my own feet. I didn't fall completely, but it was a very dramatic stumble, arms flailing, that earned me a few strange looks. My partner just grabbed my hand and pulled me along, laughing. We made it onto the train, yet again, just as the doors were closing. We found our seats and collapsed, breathless and giggling like children. It was the perfect chaotic bookend to a perfectly chaotic day. We were a mess. Our hair was all over the place, our clothes were a bit crumpled, and we were utterly exhausted. But we were so happy. We just sat there leaning against each other as the train pulled out of the station, watching the lights of London blur past the window. The stress was gone, replaced by a quiet sense of achievement and a whole lot of affection. As we traveled home, we didn't know if our visas would be approved. That decision was out of our hands, floating somewhere in the bureaucratic ether. But in a way, it didn't matter. The day itself was the prize. It was a story we would tell for years to come. The story of the mad dash, the missing letter, and the chip-stealing pigeon. It was a reminder that even when things go wrong, when you're stressed and running late, having the right person by your side makes all the difference. We arrived home, tired but together, with a great story and a shared hope for sunny Italian skies. And really, what more could you ask for?